You wanna know what the weak point of a mech is? The fucking pilot.
Get away from her, you bitch!
His papers say he was a raven.
Protocol 3.
Welcome to On the Shoulders of Giants, a giant robot mini episode where we discuss a little new Gundam that just came out. I'm joined today by Brian.
It's me. I'm just gonna warn everybody right now. I have a new gender, and it's called Commander Talia Bull. I have a mental illness about this man.
So the reason we're doing this is we want to talk about the new GQuuuuuux because it just came out. And so we're going to do 4 little episodes recapping what is happening in our first season of GQuuuuuux, starting with we both went and saw GQuuuuuux The Beginning in theater.
Yeah, we did. This one's going to be so dirty, sloppy style because I don't know about you, but I did not take notes in the movie theater. So I'm just raw dogging it.
I furiously, while walking through the lobby, made quick notes on my phone of things that I had to discuss with you.
Okay.
It'll be easier once this is being released and we can actually watch this and take notes. But for now, this is just us raw talking about GQuuuuuux The Beginning. So let's get into it. So we all knew that GQuuuuuux was going to be an AU, right? That was what was going around. We all knew it. Thank you, Japanese Blue Sky and Twitter, for letting me know. But I didn't expect it to be this way. This exceeded all expectations for me.
Yeah. My immediate, the first maybe, I don't know, 10 minutes of this, my immediate thought that I could not get out of my head was that Anno is doing Shin Gundam. And that's exactly what this is. Like, he is doing the Shin Godzilla thing, the Shin Ultraman thing, but to Gundam. And it actually works so well for me. I don't know.
So we're just going to talk about the original series a lot in this because it informs this, especially episode 1 or the beginning. So I think it's very funny that the entire thought is in the first episode of Gundam, they just have the cockpit to the Gundam open. And there's a moment where Char thinks he should go steal it then, and he doesn't. But what if he did? Is the entire conceit of the series.
What if Char had gotten to the Gundam first, basically?
And it's everything I wanted it to be. So he gets in the Gundam. They fucking deploy one of the gun cannons. He fucks that shit up so hard.
It's so insane. So the Federation, the Federation
Federation cannot stop losing in this.
Literally, at some point, Char says, one person can't change the course of the war. Wrong. Amuro is single-handedly the reason the war went the way it went.
Literally, the only difference is there was not Amuro in the Gundam. It was Char in the Gundam. Complete war. The war goes a complete different way. Can we talk about the Zaku's real quick? Right up top.
Yes. Yeah.
So we see that. First off, love the new design of the colonies. It finally feels like a giant space cylinder.
Yeah, the proportions are there's something OG Gundam space colonies just feel incredibly small to me. And they're drawn huge. Like the scale is correct. It's just they feel so much more intimate. But in this there's a little bit more of this feels like a planet-sized operation as opposed to maybe a small town.
Right. I was always wondering how they snuck into the side in the original one because I'm like, you can just see him there. He's red. So he gets in, fucks up, steals that shit, and then he makes. Okay, yeah. Sorry, I get away. The Zaku's have hips now. They got wide birthing hips.
They've got wide birthing hips. They have birthing hips, which is interesting because the cop Zaku's we see later on have another new leg formation. We got
new legs. New legs just dropped.
So it's been a really long time since I've seen First Gundam. This whole thing that happens was the very first fight in the war, wasn't it?
This is not in the war.
Not the first fight in the war. The first mobile suit fight in the war.
This is the first mobile suit fight was the Gundam versus the Zaku's inside 7. It was the first time a Federation mech fought them.
if you're the Federation and you make your fancy new white mobile suit and your fancy new white base, and they are immediately both stolen, whew.
I think you just surrender at that point.
So we got olive drab base now because the Zeons have it.
Cannot get over that he's like, oh, I'm not just stealing the Gundam. I'm taking the landing ship. We steal white base and we call it the camel now. It's no longer the white horse. It's
the camel, and it's like it's the
olive drab green.
It's olive drab, which is so weird because like I think they did this on purpose, right? Which is to say that like they painted the white base a very boring color, so that later on when Chalia Bull's piloting the Bra, which is neon orange and purple right next to it, it's a fucking ridiculous looking.
Oh my god. So the first third is basically about how the war would have gone if Zeon stole the Gundam and reverse engineered it. And I love how they handle this. So couple of big highlights, and we can just say it right now. We got mass-produced Big Zams.
It's a huge day for Big Zam lovers. They do it's interesting, right? Because like one of the things that this is doing is kind of interrogating the war in as of itself as is portrayed in the original Gundam. Like all of the other accoutrements in the Universal Century add on to like complicate that. But as it stands, it's interesting that what the Federation does in this is going to be the same thing that the Titans do in Zeta Gundam. That was something I thought about. It's like the exact same scene.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, down to the letter. But then we get there's so many little things that I want to see the series explore. Like, Amuro's not there, but there's somebody piloting a white mobile suit that the Federation has built, and it's Salem Ass. It's Artesia. My wife.
I didn't even know. Like, what's going on? I need to know.
I need to know. It's such a little thing. And then, so they do this whole war. And first off, we got to talk about it. You're my Mav, Brian.
Where
are we Mavs?
They invented Yaoi again.
They literally
if
said,
Amuro wasn't there, Char still would have invented Yaoi.
So the idea is something that the series is going to explore, and we see it throughout this, is the idea of a Mav, which is you need a wingman.
A wingman, yeah, it's just wingman
in
politics.
Space,
like
the first shot generally wins, but you have a better chance of survivability if you have a friend with you to shoot back.
Yeah, it's 100%, and it fucking rules. And the thing that's great is we consummate this relationship of Mav in an intimate, dimly lit room with a bottle of wine.
Okay, in my theater, when this scene happened, when Char is sitting down with Shalia and they're having wine and discussing being the new people, because Shalia is a returnee from Jupiter. He's a precog, a new type, and they have wine and they talk about the future, and multiple people in the audience were just like, now kiss.
I like leaned over. I brought my very brave spouse to see this. He has actually only ever seen G Savior.
Oh my god!
So it was very fun for him to. He was like, I didn't know what any words meant, but it was pretty cool. I leaned over and I was like, this is really fucking gay. Like this was a really fucking gay scene. The thing about it is,
so gay.
In my opinion, and I think this is very obvious in the text of Gundam.
Mm-hmm.
I think that new types can very much like imprint on each other in a very like animalistic way.
Well, you saw it with Layla and Char and Amuro. They all imprinted on each other.
Yeah, and obviously that's part of what enables Camille to turn all the dead women into a space laser at the end of Zeta Gundam 2. But the amount of dedication and obsession that Shalia Bull immediately has with Char as the Bull is new type thing, and it's also just straight up yaoi.
No one looks at another man like that in a heterosexual context, is what I'll say. But I get it. I like they're warriors. Char, he's bigger than life, especially at the time they meet. He had already like invented funnels on his own, which they're calling bits now, which I love. But what if the Gundam had bits and was also red?
And was also red, and also had a little unit Ava unit waistline.
Little cinched ass waist.
Yeah.
But I love their little pairing because Shalia is piloting that ugly ass mobile armor. But do you remember the name of that mobile armor?
It's called a bra bro.
Oh God. And it has the wire guided funnels because he can also do funnels, and it's so good. But yeah.
So yeah, shout out to the Big Zam. So the first episode of this is just like, here's how the 1 year war went different. It was actually it was a 1 year war because they surrender on January 5th, conveniently skipping the entire plot of 0080. I was kind of hoping to see some action in that regard. But anyway, then fucking Char's counterattack happens at the very end. Like, he just gets swallowed up by nothing. Like, I don't know.
He literally sees through time. He sees Artesia. He almost shoots Artesia.
Yeah.
And then this creates what I'm going to call, and I'm calling my shot now, a time paradox that consumes him, and he enters the time stream as well.
He
as
enters the
Red
time
Gundam.
stream. There's a part of me that wants to believe he's become like in the Gundam the same way like Shinji's mom is in Ava Unit 1, you know?
Real. And I think that, I could see that. I could totally see that happening. But that's episode 1, which also just, I love seeing them use white base as Zeon. It's just so, they do shit with it. Like, seeing it deploy Rick Doms.
Yes, dude.
Me.
Yeah.
Ends me.
It's so good.
It's so good. But then we get a time skip.
And now we're in Fooly Cooly.
And now I was gonna say, here's my call. This is just Flip Flappers.
What's a Flip Flapper?
Flip Flappers is a Yuri anime that has a similar art style and characters. Those who know will say, yeah, this Flip Flappers. They have Flip Flapper.
This is Flip
couple.
Flappers.
So we got
like,
Yaoi.
We got
Yaoi.
Now it's time for Yuri.
Hell yeah. This shit rips.
Yeah, this was for you, I think.
Amate Machu, our main protagonist, one of 3, which is very fun. We get a trifecta in this one.
We get an immediate triad that I think is gonna play with the first Gundam triad in a lot of ways. But instead of Lala Soon being in between Char and Amuro, it's Shuji being in between Machu and what's her girlfriend's name?
Nyan.
Yeah.
My girl, Nyan. This
with 3 A's, I think.
No, 2. 2 specifically.
Oh, it's 2. Okay, it's okay.
Trust me, I've been practicing writing her name in cursive with hearts all around it.
Yeah.
So Machu, first off, I just want to say, as far as Gundam Pro tags go, of course I'm gonna be just a freak about her, and I love her so much. But I like her little weird whimsical nature. I think the scene with her doing a handstand on top of a fountain is a little too twee. But I think
that is the most Fooly Cooly I think it gets.
Fully captures what I think this is trying to
her
interpret.
Like legs up in the air and you see like the ceiling of the colony, and she's talking about like what it's like to be a space noid.
How they have never seen the ocean, and she jumps in a pool, but it's not the same. And gravity, where are your feet?
And the background music is way louder than it would normally be in any other media, but still not quite too loud, which is Fooly Cooly. Like, that is the boiled down, distilled essence of Fooly Cooly.
Oh, music chat. This music fucking whips.
I liked it a lot. It's like, what if the pillows were cyborgs?
This is so Fooly Cooly pilled that I love it. The whole conceit of the plot is there are robot fights that happen in the colonies. So we're in a colony that is not aligned. So Zeon got its independence. That is, they now rule the space sphere. Earth still has the Earth sphere, but Zeon doesn't completely rule all the other colonies. So while Zeon holds dominion over space and authority over space, colonies exist.
There's still a military police that is Federation.
So they aren't Feddies. Those are Side Sixers. Military police.
Oh, so that's like the local government.
The local cops. Which
Yeah.
is just like another like Titans, right? We got Titans.
No, that's exactly what they're doing. Yeah.
So we've got that, and Zeon is selling its mobile suits both to local municipalities. So like, we got Cop Zakus. Can we talk about Cop Zakus?
We got Cop Zakus. So one of the fucking, like, it's one line of dialogue, and we get it as Olive Drab Base is descending on this colony, which is that Zeon started selling a bunch of its mobile suits, but they took the little cassette chip out that enables the weapons platform, which turns their mono eye blue. Like, that's some of the sickest shit ever.
Like, so a thing that did not exist in the series, all mobile suits could just do violence. But in this one, they're like, oh no, there's actually just a cassette tape you slam in this thing that makes it do violence.
Like they can punch without it, but they can't use a heat axe, they can't use guns, they can't use anything else.
Which is cool, because like if you've ever seen mobile suits from the original series, they have like a SATA connector in the base of their palm where it connects to weapons to control them. And I think that that's like a cool, like, oh yeah, that is something you could probably just program to turn off. But also programmed in such a way that like if you don't have that chip, you can't even do it. I like that shtick. That's pretty neat. It's also going to become a MacGuffin that we use later. So we get this whole like scene where this whole plot. So we meet Nyan, and Nyan is trafficking things, which are cassette tapes, with her generic Uber Eats backpack. But also a great call is somebody is like, that's not really a school uniform you're wearing. You're in disguise.
It's the worst disguise ever because she looks simultaneously like she's going to Catholic school and also like she's doing Uber Eats, and it's just fundamentally like she looks like a sore thumb, which is great. She also sucks at this. It's incredible.
Doesn't matter. We have the Yuri scene. They impact. There's a certain inevitable geometry as Nya lands into Machu. There is sparkles.
She breaks her phone, which gives them a reason to chase each other around because her phone's broken.
I'm coding GQuuuuuux as both a Yaoi and a Yuri.
Me too.
I think we've done it.
I think we've done it.
They get through this whole thing. Machu is like obsessed with the red mobile suit that's flying around. And what else happens here before we get to the fight?
Well, like, basically it's just this kind of extended sequence of the olive drab base, which I'm just going to call it that from now on, approaching the colony, and they see the red Gundam.
Just flying around outside of Side 6.
It's just flying around outside of Side 6. Can
we talk about sound design? They're just dropping your favorite sounds. They're like, we know what people are here for.
They've got remastered music from 0079. It's amazing. It sounds so good.
But he's like, that's my guy. And so they deploy our new type, Xavier Olivetta.
This dude is a classical fuck up. I can't wait to see how much of a failed child he's going to be.
So what I really like is the GQuuuuuux exists. It's just there. And they're like, we're deploying it to go get the red back. And there's this cool scene where he breaks into the colony. And I think the scale of colonies in this is exactly what I always wanted out of Gundam, which is like, yeah, there's just giant access pipes around this and giant airlocks because mobile suits are what is being used to build these. Like, there is a scale to it. And also the fact that they can just sneak in, which is a wild concept for a colony. But we get a fight with him and he gets fucked up by the red mobile suit really bad.
He does not appear to be able to activate like the weapon systems, or sorry, the Psychomu, the Omega Psychomu.
We are in the Omegaverse. It's canon. Brian, why are you rubbing your face like that? We're in the Omegaverse now.
We're in the Omegaverse. We got Omega Psychomu.
So I like this because it's like Xeon still develops the Psychomu, but because they won the war, they take it in a crazy direction. But also Omega Psychomu activated by a cassette tape.
Activated by cassette tape, or in this case, not activated by cassette tape because Xavier does not have the juice.
Yeah, it has an error message on it, which I think is really cool that the cassette tape has a little LED
It has
screen.
a little dot matrix screen. Yeah, it looks good.
But we also meet my other wife, Komali, who is on the white base. She's the one with the thigh-high stockings.
Yes.
We also just get... Look, I want them to get onto the camel because I love this crew. It's hitting so many things.
People are talking about this.
Like our two comms guys up on the top, they already have a banter together. The guy who's piloting it is just kind of the scene when they take it into the colony and he is just casually steering. We got street rats. We
have queer millennials. We have Anki, who is the motherly drag queen.
We've got Jesse, who is the non-binary glasses one. We have Kane, who's just there to be a puppy girl hacker. And we got Nabu, who is just like pointing obvious things out.
So chill and just like
they're all so chill. Literally, they launch right next to where their command center is.
I want to say the glasses guy is very critically and very specifically super unchill about everything all the time.
I love him.
I love these characters. They're all really, really well done, I think.
We also get, and I'm going to say it, the best Haru we've ever seen.
Yep.
He's got a little beanie.
This Haru has a hat. This Haru immediately loves the protagonist, which is a great sign in a Haru. This Haru also is plot critical, and I love plot critical Haru.
Takes off in the shitty little Zaku that they have. Gets fucked up, and then pops out. And this is okay. Something that I think this does a little weird is so we had episode 1, which was the 1-year war, millions dying. And then we have this series. No one dies. It's so loud in that, like, the military police who Titans 2.0 are just wrecking buildings in an abandoned district, ripping roofs to look for mechs. And just, you see people down on the street just dodging pieces of machinery. Like, it lands down and almost kills somebody.
Well, nobody dies on screen.
Well, yeah, that too.
Like, you compare this to the scene where Suletta accidentally crushes that person.
Accidentally. Accidentally. We'll talk about it someday. But she gets it. She goes over and jumps in the GQuuuuuux because it's just sitting there and it looks cooler. She says, like, oh, that looks like it fucks.
I do. People are going to yell because this is also very Diebuster. It's extremely Diebuster. It's just that I haven't seen Diebuster in a very long time. And I will say this is shot for shot, drawing for drawing. The scene where what's her face from Fooly Cooley is jumping onto the big hand robot with her guitar. It is literally the exact same drawing.
It's so it's beautiful
good
to watch though.
Yeah.
So she gets in, and Haru, who has decided she's cool enough to pilot this, activates the cassette and turns on.
What is up with that, I wonder? Is this the time traveling Harobi?
I think this Haru is from the other universe or some shit or something. It's gonna be like whatever it is, it's gonna be amazing. Because the Haru in the original one was Amuro's dad's Haru, and that's how it like interfaced with it, right? So I think it's same tune.
And this one too, one thing that is totally glossed over is at one point to quote unquote give her a disguise. They put the Harubi's hat on Machu, and then you see that Harubi's like side panels, like the things that open up and flap, are like clear and have like a weird thing in them. So I want to know what that's all about.
I desperately need to know. Gets up, fucks up the cops. ACAB is the theme of this. Fuck 12.
ACAB includes the horse-legged cop Zaku, unfortunately. I love these things.
I love them. There is a kit coming out. I have pre-ordered.
I'm going to have one cop in my life, and I have a Zaku up there already, but it's not a cop Zaku.
I'm specifically getting it so I can also get the red Gundam to have it beating up the cop. Okay, so that happens. There's this whole subplot about money, and they run into they find the pilot of the red Gundam, who is Shuji. And Shuji's thing is he's spray painting.
Shuji's thing is that he is a grade A twink core little freak. I am almost as obsessed with Shuji as I am with Chalia Bull.
When I saw his shoes, I said, I know exactly what this is.
The other thing is Shuji I am submitting this. I already called this in the Giant Robot FM Discord for March Mecha Day. I am submitting Conchi, which is the little crab robot that Shuji has on his head. I love him so much.
He's a little fucking square, and he just hangs out there, and Shuji just like talks to him sometimes, and he's just doing little robot things.
But Shuji's also doing stuff like, I can tell you're a new type because you smell like one. And
oh yeah, we get a sniff scene. And Okay, so we have our three main protags now, and we've kind of introduced them. Brian, what are your thoughts on our three Gundams?
I think these characters are great. I think that one of the things that the first three episodes don't show super well is how Neon is really going to fit into this.
I think she's the, like, Xeon Project character. You know how each one of these has the, like, you know how every Gundam, Xeon does some fucked up shit with children and they're in a facility?
Well, specifically a girl.
Yeah.
She's going to be the fucked up girl that we have to babysit until she either dies or self-actualizes.
Yeah. I think she really doesn't get much. I think it'll come out later, but I
want her to get her own robot. That's what I'm really hoping for her in the future.
So we get this. So here's the other thing, and I want to know your thought on this. So they have robot fights.
Yes.
They are something that spacers do where a pair of Mavs goes out and fights another pair of Mavs before the cops catch them.
I love everything about this. This is one of the coolest things I have like ever seen in Gundam, I think.
So like in which you had the like, it's in a contained area, they launch, it's very structured, it's put on by the school. This is completely opposite. They're like, okay, I'm going to open the airlock for 5 seconds. You have to get out or the colony will register it as the airlock opening. And once you fight, the cops show up. You got 5 minutes.
It's so cool. I love everything. I love the fact that it's like so... everything about it works against them, and yet they're so determined to have these that they like get through it in their own little ways. I love the idea of hiding a mobile suit in basically any context, because what the fuck, these things are so big.
It's so funny. But the other conceit is Neon was delivering a controller because
a combat chip,
because Shuji broke his, which that unlocks a whole nother thought of like, oh, are these single use? Was my first thought. And then it's like, or how often do they break? And it's like, oh, I can't pay you because he has 1 coin in his pocket, which is wild. And then, so if you fight, I'll pay you, blah, blah, blah. They're going to work together. Machu and Shuji are going to fight as a pair of Mavs.
Mm-hmm.
And this is when we get our first, like, there's a whole conversation about Mavs and how they cover your back. But we also get what I think is fucking awesome, which is space combat, being treated like space combat in a way that Gundam, I don't think, has really done, which is like, when you're in the black of space, if something's far away, you can't see that shit, especially when Minovsky particles are dispersed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can't see them, they can't see you until people start shooting. And I think it's so cool.
It looks great. It's a great moment too, because it's exactly the same moment that What's Your Face has in Gunbuster, right? Where it's like, I'm overstimulated, I'm disoriented, I don't know what's going on, I have to completely rely on my partner to do anything. Now, luckily, her partner isn't Torrance Smith and doesn't just get wasted immediately. But it is very that.
So I also want to shout this out. I'm obsessed with her pilot's fit. Like,
yes,
the kind of, it reminds me of Rebuild a little bit, but not. Yeah. And it's like, it's this cool suit. She's wearing the hat because she's in disguise. And they should have given her a mask. I'm so upset. She should wear a mask. But I just love her fit. It is so good. It's so... I'm not sure how I feel about the GQuuuuuux Omega Psychomo being weird arm things that come down.
I think it's cool. I really like it.
What I do
They're
love
like
is,
portals, and they like swoop down, and then you hold hands with it.
But then like her just blocking, like getting fearful in the cockpit when she's getting shot, activates the Psychomu, and it defends itself. And I love that shit. I love when the Psychomu, because somebody mentions like she's just piloting it with the Psychomu. What's our team name, by the way?
Pomeranians.
Obsessed with the Pomeranians.
Yeah, so to like speak of just like the mecha of it all, I love the way these fights work. I love that the structure that this is giving us. I love our show because we happen to cover, I think, some of the big staples that really light the way for this.
Yes.
We haven't covered like First Gundam or anything, but I just think in terms of Gainax and in terms of Hideaki Anno, like knowing Gunbuster, both of us knowing Fully Cooley. I haven't seen Diebuster since like, I don't know, forever ago.
Right.
But like, for example, I know that like the when they're having like their when Shuji and Machu are having their weird new type thing where they're like in the space vortex, that reminds me of Die Buster for sure.
It was so and like, look, I thought it was done so well. Like I thought, like, I was like, this is the new type connection that I envisioned Layla and Amuro having, but like, drawn really cool.
Yeah.
Also, other highlights is the animation they use in this. So we got to talk about, these are CGI, right? These are CGI, but in a way that we've finally done Gundam enough in CGI that we can make it good. But in the space combat, they still do the drawn like space speed lines that you love to see in a Gundam.
It really, really makes it look.
And their explosions are hand drawn. Yes,
that is so important to me. It's so important to me, and they're still pink, which is also so important to me. But classic CG hater. I think we've reached a point where it's like if you can stylize it well enough with the hand drawn elements, which I think this manages to do in a lot of ways. It can look really good. Space battles are great for CG mecha because they are weightless in that way. And I think when they're in the colony and they're smashing shit up, they look very heavy, they look very imposing, and they feel like a giant machine, which is really, really hard for me in terms of CG to like actually accomplish. So
it's so weird to see from Igloo, which is like one of the first. It's fully CGI Gundam.
I've seen some shit from Igloo, and
it's bad. But then you also more recently Requiem for a Vengeance. It had this weightiness to it, but I think this improves even more on that because this is main production house for them, and it shows.
I think sometimes I think the robots themselves are a little bit over designed in a way that when they're moving very quickly, the things can be very unreadable, especially with the GQuuuuuux itself, because it's like backpack booster is very strange. It looks a lot like another set of arms in a lot of shots. So I like the GQuuuuuux a lot still. I liked it a lot more when it wasn't moving. When I was seeing it in the promotional material, I will say I've got to ding it a little bit now. However, we bring it back though with the Red Gundam, because the Red Gundam is one of the coolest Gundams I've literally ever seen. I love how huge and chunky and tactile the bits are when they detach and they make that horrible noise, and how heavy they look, and how one thing that funnels don't do a lot for in the Gundam that I've seen, they're more there so that you can draw more lines on the screen in the Gundam that I've seen. But when they run out of lasers, he just starts ramming them into things. It's awesome.
There's also a cool ass scene that's peak mecha when they're in the colony and the funnels get deployed, and it like drops down above buildings, and its thruster jets realign it, and there are people there just like right there seeing this, and you see the scale of this bit, and it's giant, and it's so cool.
It looks great. The accomplishment here is astounding to me as someone who is geared in every way to resist this type of animation.
Right. So they have their whole fight. There's a cool ass scene with a Heat Hawk, which is Machu loses a Heat Hawk, and while fighting the enemy, calculates where it's going to be in space at a certain time. Space and time. Whoa.
This is new type shit. Like, this is truly, purely, like, some of the coolest new type shit is when it's subtle and when it's like, you can tell that the awareness this person has currently is actually superhuman. Like,
right. And the person who calls it is Chalia, who at this point, and we'll talk about their whole subplot, he's at a bar watching this fight because these are illegal fights, but we all just stream it when it happens because who isn't going to watch this? And he comments, he's like, that's new type shit.
Yeah, he does. He's drinking a whiskey on the rocks or whatever, and he says he's rescued Xavier, who, by the way, got arrested. Just absolute failure of a child.
Oh my god. Okay, so let's talk about his subplot, which is great. So they see Char go in, and they have this whole like, well, we've got to go find the Red Gundam. But obviously, we're an outside military, and our guy just got arrested. And they're like, well, we got to get him out. How do we do it? And what does your boy Chalia do?
Chalia says, what's the weather? And one of the bridge operators says, according to the schedule, it's supposed to be sunny. And he just calmly says, let's drop in. Cut to White Base has just rammed its way into the colony.
It just drove in. They were like, well, we're actually the rulers of space, and we can. They Federation is what I like to say.
Yes,
they just
they
drive
do.
in at the slowest speed, and so you just see the guy just slowly adjusting the steering wheel as they are slow rolling because they know, like, and people are like just watching this, like, oh,
incredible
fuck, what do we
physical
do?
comedy. It's just like kind of wobbling slowly up there, and then in the background for the rest of the episode, it's just up in the sky, chilling.
Just going. I love the scene when we go back to Machu's school, which apparently Machu, despite being the weirdest freak, everybody just treats her like a normal girl. And they're all just leaning out the window looking at this and talking about it in a way that really was reminiscent of 0080 in a cool way that I really liked. But he literally just goes down and is like, he post-dated a document to make it okay for Xavier to have been in the colony. And it's very much like, who's going to say no to Xeon in space right now?
Chalia Bull has so much juice and is so homosexual. I'm so normal. I'm not going to be the same.
It's so good. But for being 6 years in the future, and like there's some comments about like, what? Oh, you're still using that old landing ship? And it's like, well, we're poor in space. We can't just keep making new ships. Like Xeon is still a poor country, independent but poor, in a cool way. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's where we leave it off, is with them finishing that fight, and we're building up to a lot, which makes me ask Brian, and this is the part where we make asses of ourselves. Where do you think we're going from here in GQuuuuuux?
Fucking hell. So I think so here's what I'm thinking is going to happen. Here's like what I'm kind of quote unquote looking forward to. I think that we are going to see Lala and Amuro being incredibly normal people at some point. That is like what I'm like holding on for. I need Lala like at an office job. You know that that teaser trailer, or not really teaser trailer, but like that weird little music video thing they released back in the like a couple months ago, where she was like an idol. Like, hey,
why not? Right?
Yeah.
She had a beautiful singing voice. That was canon. I love that. Where do you think our main trio goes from here? What do you think the future holds for them in this series?
I can tell you what I think is going to happen. I can tell you what I hope happens. What I think is going to happen is that we're going to have several overtures of Yuri between Nyan and Machu, but I think ultimately it is going to be a case of Machu has a crush on Shuji and Shuji has a crush on Nyan, or something of that nature, where it's like where it's a deniable Yuri asset. You know what I mean? Even though I think Shuji doesn't belong in a relationship with anybody but the Gundam. Personally,
I think we get the first trifecta couple in Gundam. I think it's time that it does what other
it's time for it to work out.
Yeah. It's time for it to work out because it is an alternate universe. I think so. I had a discussion with somebody about this. I think the robot fights are going to be a mainstay of this. I think the two-pair fighting structured is going to be.
I hope that it structures the whole thing. And I hope at some point we use that as a springboard to do something a little bit more interesting. But I want to spend a lot of time in the fighting circuit. I want that to be really important.
Here's my pitch. I think they get looped into being on the camel. Chalia becomes the Ensign Bright, who is like running the team, and they go around and they do fights. And I think they explore this universe on the camel, not as in the same way that the White Base was part of the Federation but was doing its own thing. I think this is a White Base but run by Xeon in a period of peace kind of thing. And we'll get to the dark parts of Gundam. We always will, right? Like,
sure.
But for now, I think it's them getting on that ship. I think there's a scene where Kamali and Xavier fight Shuji and Machu as pairs of Mavs, because I can't see Kamali not being a Mav with anybody else but Xavier.
And I can't see Xavier like just giving up being a pilot, you know,
there's
just because he got absolutely
about
owned.
The GQuuuuuux, like,
yeah.
Can we just say scene of all time when Nabu is like, what the how do you even pronounce that? And he's like, is it GQuuuuuux, I guess? And they're like, oh, it's a temporary name. Love it. Love that they called it. Love that they didn't sit on it and act like it was normal. But yeah, I think that's where I want to see this go. I don't see them staying on this colony for forever. Maybe they bring drag queen Anki and her team. And they,
I need them to
civilians
stick
on.
around.
Yeah.
I very much need them to stick around. And yeah, White Base has random civilians all the fucking time.
Right.
Kuman Shinta, if we can have Kuman Shinta and we can't have Anki, I'm gonna riot.
Right. So that's where I see this going, but I hope to be wrong. I hope they do many fun things with this. But I do want to say I think non-Gundam fans should watch this because I just love these characters. The art style is beautiful. It's beautifully drawn. I was mentioning to somebody the scene when she's picking up the cassette under the overpass from a guy in one of the most generic Gundam trucks of all time. And it's like, I know this is on a space colony. It has all of the notes of it. And yet at the same time, I just felt like this was a trigger anime.
Yeah. This could be the anime drainage ditch outside the high school in any context anywhere, but we know it's in space. That's how Gundam works.
What about you, Brian? How are you feeling about it so far?
I'm really not a huge Gundam person. This show has made me more of a Gundam person than I ever was beforehand. And so like when I say something like this is the most interesting Gundam that I've like been excited to be a part of, I say that with the caveat that like it's really the only Gundam that I've been like up to date watching as it comes out. I've seen a lot of the older stuff. I've seen smatterings of things from all over the place. But
did you watch Unicorn when it was coming out?
No, I have literally never watched a Gundam while it was coming out, except for when I was able to catch like an episode of Wing at my dad's house or whatever.
Oh, got it. But
so,
you didn't watch Witch when it was coming out either, right?
No.
Oh, wow.
And in fact, I've seen like maybe like 3 episodes of Witch, just random ones.
Here's what I'll say. I don't like. There are moments like when the president shows up that people in the theater who knew were like, ooh. But also it was like one of those, I don't think you lose anything. Like Charlie Bull existed in the original series as just like a guy.
He was just a guy, though. He didn't have the utmost yaoi steez of anyone else ever.
Drin gets some play as the person in charge of the camel, and I think that's neat. Doesn't make it like the Big Zam army. That was like a fuck yeah, Dozel
and it was
stream.
like one frame. That was for us in that way.
Yeah.
So is the kick. Char does the Gundam kick in his own Gundam.
That
also happened.
Where you're just like, but that's just the first episode, and then it is me like. We have set up what is different. We are doing a different thing. And
we're doing a different thing, yeah.
I don't know. I have a very low bar for Gundam, which is, do I like the pro tag? And I'm obsessed with Machu, which I think we all know.
Machu's pretty good. Yeah, I like Machu also. So I'm excited to kind of keep checking in. Are we ever going to have anybody else come on for these, or?
I think so. I would like to have especially some of our GRFM friends, and then there's a couple of perverts for Gundam that we can bring in, because I would like to talk to another Gundam head about this in a way that, like, again, you know enough, but like people who will get the dirty little nitty gritty.
I'm a freaking casual.
But also, the loud part here is Nico is not joining this because Nico's life cannot facilitate following an anime in real time like we can. But I think we should bring some people on. I really want to have this be a discussion, but I wanted to get this one down on the books right after we saw the movie because I took very minimal notes, including Machu and Yan, my beloved, is written 3 times in here.
Well, we should also say we don't really have like we know that we're going to do an episode on 3 GQuuuuuux episodes 4 times. But I don't know exactly what the release schedule is going to be like when this episode's coming out. I'm hoping to maybe cut it together this week and hopefully get it together like by the end of the week or something.
Yeah, this is not, we're not trying to be catching it right in the moment. We want to talk about it. Yeah, I'm not
trying to be timely about it. If you want timely coverage, I suggest you listen to Side 6 Soundwaves, which is going to be GRFM's version of it. They're covering an episode a week with it. So
yeah, I think they would be the ones for the in the moment version of it. We are more of a overall I especially I don't know if our hardcore fan base is really Gundam heads, but
well, we've never they are, but we've never really been the timely podcast, and so I'm not interested in trying to capture that energy. What I am interested in capturing with this is like a check-in on Gunbuster was one of the first episodes we ever did. The specific interests of the show are like in our show's DNA, so I think it's going to be an interesting conversation to have.
This is very much in our lore. And it makes me, I have an open slot on our schedule, and I think we have to throw Fooly Cooley into it at this point. I think it has to be a conversation, especially as we watch more of this. But if Machu and Jan don't get married at the end of this, I will die. So
Bandai Namco, you will have blood on your hands.
Yeah, you will have blood on your hands. All right, well, that was this mini-sode on GQuuuuuux The Beginning with me and Brian. Check out our next main feed episode. Don't know what it is. And if you want to talk about GQuuuuuux, hit us up in our Discord. I will at you so many times about my thoughts on Machu's beanie and why it is the greatest piece of clothing in any Gundam. So hit us up there or on Blue Sky. And
100%.
We will talk to you all later. Bye.
Bye.